A desperate signal emerges. Darkness covered the sky of Vega 7, a small human colony at the edge of known space. It was a peaceful world, far from war, far from danger. Its people lived simple lives. Farmers, miners, traders. Children played in the streets, their laughter filling the air. No one ever thought of war. No one ever imagined that death could come from the stars. Then, one night, the sky burned. The first explosions came without warning. Bright streaks of fire rained down from above, striking the planet's defenses. The ground trembled as shockwaves tore through cities. The people of Vega 7 screamed in fear. Their peaceful world had become a battlefield in seconds. Above the planet, enormous alien warships floated like dark giants. Their hulls shimmered with eerie green light, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. These were not simple raiders. This was an invasion. The attackers were the Dominion, a powerful alien empire feared across the galaxy. Cold, ruthless, and unstoppable, they had conquered thousands of worlds. And now, Vega 7 was their next target. A call for help. In the underground control center, Governor Elias Voss gripped the table, his hands shaking. Alarms blared through the room. Officers scrambled to send evacuation orders, but it was already too late. The Dominion's forces were everywhere. "We need to send an SOS," Voss said, his voice tight with fear. Now, his chief communications officer, Lieutenant Lorne, hesitated. "Sir, even if we send a distress signal, we are too far from Earth. No one will reach us in time." Voss slammed his fist on the table. "We have to try. If there is even a chance that the fleet can hear us, we must call for help." Mara swallowed hard and nodded. Her fingers flew across the control panel, activating the emergency distress beacon. A desperate message was sent into the void. The message that could change everything. Across the galaxy, in deep space, an advanced relay station picked up the signal. A cold, robotic voice analyzed the message before forwarding it at light speed toward its final destination. Back on Earth, in the heart of the Terran High Command, the message was received. A holographic display flickered to life, showing the panicked face of Governor Voss. His voice trembled as he spoke. "This is Vega 7. We are under attack by the Dominion. They came without warning. Our defenses are failing. If anyone hears this, please, help us. We don't have much time." Then the message cut off. Silence filled the war room. Admiral Hayes, a battle-hardened veteran, stood at the center of the room. His sharp eyes studied the message. He turned to his officers. "Prepare the fleet," he said. Humanity does not abandon its own. The ultimate fleet was about to move, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Humanity's answer. The distress signal spread across the vast Terran network, flashing urgent red across every military outpost and command center. Vega 7 was under attack. Inside Earth's High Command, the room was tense. Officers gathered around the large holographic display, watching the burning planet and the enemy fleet hovering above it. The Dominion. The name alone sent a chill through the room. At the head of the table stood Admiral Jonathan Hayes, a man who had seen more wars than most. His face was carved with experience, his sharp eyes locked onto the image of the burning colony. He listened as the transmission played once again. "If anyone hears this, please, help us. We don't have much time." The message ended, leaving a heavy silence. Commander Roth, a younger officer, broke the stillness. "Sir, Vega 7 is too far. Even at full speed, we might not make it in time." Hayes didn't look away from the display. "We have to try." Another officer, Admiral Kova, folded her arms. "With respect, sir, this is the Dominion. They've never lost a war. If we send forces blindly, we risk losing our ships for nothing." Hayes turned to her, his expression hard. "You're wrong. We don't fight for nothing. We fight for our people. And if the Dominion wants a war, we'll give them one." The room fell silent again. No one dared to question him. Summoning the ultimate fleet, Haves turned to his communications officer. Send a Priority 1 alert. Summon the fleet. Across the galaxy, the call went out. Titan-class dreadnoughts powered up their massive engines. Elite fighter squadrons were scrambled from hidden bases. Supercarrier warships, capable of carrying entire armies, changed course. Each ship had a singular purpose: respond to the SOS, save Vega 7, destroy the enemy. On board the flagship Invictus, Captain Elias Drayden received his orders. The battle-hardened officer clenched his jaw as he read the transmission. "So, we're finally fighting the Dominion," he muttered. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Saravale, gave a grim nod. "We'd heard stories about them," she said, "but they've never faced us before." Drayden smirked. "Then it's time they learn what humanity is capable of." The race against time. The fleet launched from Earth, engines roaring as they broke through the planet's atmosphere. Hundreds of warships vanished into the void, moving at impossible speeds. But Vega 7 was far, and the Dominion was already there. Would they arrive in time, or would they only find ashes? The countdown to war had begun. The enemy's strength. Vega 7 burned under the Dominion's relentless assault. Entire cities had been reduced to rubble. Smoke choked the sky, and the once thriving colony was now a battlefield. In the command center, Governor Elias Voss stood with his officers, watching the holographic display of their crumbling defenses. Red warning lights flashed everywhere. "The outer perimeter is gone," Lieutenant Mara Lorne reported, her voice strained. "We've lost contact with the northern districts. They're gone." Voss clenched his fists. "How much longer can our forces hold?" General Keenan, head of the colony's defense, shook his head grimly. "An hour, maybe less. We are outnumbered, outgunned, and cut off. The Dominion has already won." Outside, Dominion war machines roamed the streets, towering mech-walkers with energy cannons, armored troops with plasma rifles, and aerial drones scanning for survivors. The invaders moved with cold efficiency. They didn't take prisoners. They didn't negotiate. The Dominion did not leave survivors. The Supreme Warlord watches. Above the planet, aboard the Dominion flagship the Zarak, Supreme Warlord Sal Zareth observed the battle from his throne. His crimson eyes glowed as he watched Vega 7's defenses collapse. This was too easy. A lesser officer approached and bowed. "Warlord, the colony is nearly secured. Their forces are broken. What are your orders?" Zal Zareth leaned forward. "Burn what remains. Let their world serve as a warning to all who defy us." The officer hesitated. "But there are still civilians." The warlord's eyes narrowed. "Are you questioning me?" The officer stiffened. "No, Warlord." Zal Zareth turned his gaze back to the battlefield. The humans were weak, soft, pathetic. No one could challenge the Dominion, or so he thought. A signal of hope. Deep underground, hidden beneath the ruins of the capital city, a small group of survivors listened to the distant explosions. Families huddled together, their faces pale with fear. A young girl clutched her mother's hand. "Mom, is anyone coming to save us?" The mother swallowed back her tears. I don't know, sweetheart." Then, a flickering screen in the shelter came to life. A soldier gasped. "The emergency beacon, it's still transmitting." Mara Lorne's voice came through the speakers, weak but determined. "This is Vega 7. If anyone can hear this, we are still here. We are still fighting." Far across the stars, the message reached its destination, and the answer was already on its way. The ultimate fleet approaches. In the dark void of space, hundreds of Terran warships surged forward. The Invictus, the flagship of the fleet, led the charge. On the bridge, Captain Elias Drayden checked the countdown. They were minutes away from Vega 7. He turned to his crew. "Make ready. Weapons hot. No mercy." The Dominion thought they had already won. They were about to learn what happens when you underestimate humanity. Arrival of the ultimate fleet. The skies above Vega 7 belonged to the Dominion. Their warships hovered like monstrous beasts, their weapons raining destruction upon the helpless colony below. Fires raged across the ruined cities, and the last remnants of resistance were being crushed. Then the stars ripped open. A violent shockwave tore through space as hundreds of Terran warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. The Invictus, humanity's most powerful dreadnought, emerged at the fleet's head, its massive silhouette casting a shadow over the Dominion armada. The Dominion ships hesitated for a fraction of a second. Then, all hell broke loose. The first strike. "Fire all weapons," Captain Elias Drayden barked, his voice steady as the chaos began. The Invictus fired its main cannon, a supercharged particle beam that could tear through a moon. The blast annihilated an entire Dominion battleship in one shot. From the surrounding warships, hundreds of missiles and laser strikes rained down, slamming into enemy hulls. The Dominion fleet, caught off guard, scrambled to respond. Supreme Warlord Sol Zareth watched in disbelief from his command ship. Impossible. No one had ever dared challenge the Dominion like this. The battle begins. The Dominion warships quickly recovered and returned fire. Green plasma beams streaked across the void, colliding with Terran shields. Explosions erupted as ships from both sides were torn apart. The battle was brutal. Fighters swarmed like angry hornets, engaging in vicious dogfights. Terran pilots, outnumbered but fearless, weaved through enemy fire, taking down Dominion interceptors with pinpoint precision. On the ground, the surviving human defenders looked up and saw hope. The sky, once filled only with enemy warships, was now burning with battle. A young soldier in the ruins of Vega 7 clenched his fists. They came. His comrade grinned through bloody lips. "Dan right they did." A message to the enemy. A transmission cut through the chaos, broadcasted from the Invictus to every Dominion warship. Admiral Hayes' voice rang out, cold and commanding. "This is Admiral Jonathan Hayes of the Terran High Command. You have attacked a human world. You have slaughtered civilians. There will be no negotiations. There will be no surrender." He paused, his next words sealing the Dominion's fate. "We are here to wipe you from the stars." The turning point. The Dominion, for the first time in their history, felt fear. Their warships, though advanced, were unprepared for the sheer ferocity of humanity's response. Terran dreadnoughts carved through their ranks. I-controlled swarms of attack drones overwhelmed their defenses. And then the Titan-class warship Juggernaut arrived, a behemoth of steel and destruction. The Juggernaut fired its rail cannon, ****, a projectile the size of a skyscraper, ****, at the Dominion flagship Vazarak. The impact was catastrophic. Sol Zareth's ship shuddered violently, alarm screaming as fire erupted across its decks. For the first time in his life, the warlord felt doubt. The end of Dominion supremacy. The tide of battle had turned. Dominion ships began to fall back, their once invincible armada now a graveyard of burning wreckage. Admiral Hayes watched from the Invictus's bridge. "They're retreating." Captain Drayden smirked. "No, sir. They're running." The Dominion had come to conquer. Now, they were the ones fighting for survival. But humanity wasn't done yet. Not even close. No mercy for tyrants. The Dominion fleet was in full retreat. Once, they had arrived as conquerors, confident in their supremacy. Now, their mighty warships burned, torn apart by humanity's wrath. Fragments of shattered hulls drifted through the void, the wreckage of an empire that had never known true resistance, until now. On the bridge of the Vazarak, Supreme Warlord Sol Zareth staggered to his feet. His command ship was in flames, sparks raining from shattered consoles. Warning sirens howled. The once mighty Dominion flagship was crippled. A shaken officer turned to him. "Warlord, we must withdraw. Our forces cannot hold." Sol Zareth bared his fangs in fury. "Cowards. We are the Dominion. We do not flee." But deep down, he knew the truth. They had lost. Humanity presses the attack. The Terran fleet did not let up. Push forward, Admiral Hayes ordered from the Invictus. Don't let a single one escape. Terran warships surged ahead, cutting off enemy escape routes. Fighter squadrons hunted down stragglers, blasting Dominion vessels to pieces. High-driven combat drones swarmed the retreating fleet, overwhelming their defenses. Captain Elias Drayden's voice echoed over the comms. No survivors. The Dominion must learn, when humanity strikes back, we finish the job. The Juggernaut, still glowing from its last devastating shot, prepared for another. The rail cannon charge. A last, desperate gamble. Zal-Zareth gritted his teeth. His empire had crushed countless civilizations, but now, against humanity, they were being annihilated. His claws dug into the command panel. Activate the Oblivion Protocol. The officer paled. Warlord, that will destroy. Zal-Zareth's eyes burned with rage. If I cannot have victory, then neither will they. Deep within the Vozarak, emergency systems activated. The Dominion flagship's core began to overload. It was going to explode. A massive detonation. One powerful enough to destroy half the Terran fleet if they didn't escape in time. A race against death. On board the Invictus, alarms screamed. Sir, a sensor officer shouted. The Dominion flagship is overloading. If it blows, we'll lose everything within 100,000 kilometers. Admiral Hayes's jaw tightened. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Now, the Terran fleet scrambled, engines flaring as they raced to escape the shockwave of doom. The Juggernaut, already in firing position, didn't hesitate. Captain Drayden's voice was steady. End this. The rail cannon fired. A monstrous projectile, moving at hypersonic speed, ripped through the Vizorak's hull. The Dominion flagship detonated in a cataclysmic explosion. A blinding light consumed everything. The aftermath. Silence followed. Where the Vozarak had been, there was now only a burning void. The Dominion's strongest warlord was gone. On board the Invictus, Admiral Hayes exhaled. Status report. A calm voice replied. Minimal losses, sir. The fleet is intact. Hayes nodded. Then he turned toward Vega 7, where the battle was finally over. Smoke still rose from the ruins, but the people, humanity's survivors, were still alive. He tapped into the colony's comms. This is Admiral Hayes. The Dominion is finished. Vega 7 is safe. And for the first time in hours, cheers erupted across the planet. Humanity had won. But this was just the beginning. Because now, the galaxy knew the truth. Humans don't just survive. They fight. And when they fight, they win. The galaxy trembles. News of the battle spread like wildfire across the stars. The Dominion, once an unstoppable force, had been broken. Their supreme warlord, Zal-Zareth, was dead. Their greatest warfleet was destroyed. For the first time in history, the galaxy saw the unthinkable. Humanity had defeated the Dominion. Reactions across the stars. On distant worlds, countless alien species watched in shock. The Dominion had ruled with an iron fist for centuries. They had crushed rebellions, annihilated civilizations, and conquered entire star systems. But now they had been humiliated. Some empires whispered in fear, others whispered in hope. The Council of Tyrants. Deep within Dominion-controlled space, the surviving warlords gathered in a massive, darkened chamber. Holograms of powerful alien leaders flickered to life, each one bearing the symbols of conquest. The air was thick with rage. One of the warlords, a hulking reptilian with scurred crimson scales, slammed his fist against the table. How could this happen? Zal-Zareth was the strongest among us. A skeletal insectoid warlord clicked its mandibles in frustration. This is not possible. The humans were supposed to be weak. A third warlord, draped in regal robes, spoke with cold fury. Clearly, We were wrong. And if humanity has the power to destroy us, then we must act before they strike again. A long silence followed. Then, a single phrase echoed through the chamber. Exterminate them. A warning from the stars. On board the Invictus, Admiral Hayes stood on the bridge, staring at the wreckage of the Dominion fleet. The battle was over, but the war was just beginning. A soft beeping caught his attention. "Sir," a comms officer said, "we're receiving an encrypted transmission from an unknown source." Hayes frowned. "Play it." The message crackled to life, distorted and ancient. A deep alien voice spoke, a voice filled with warning. "You have drawn the gaze of the galaxy, Terrans. The Dominion was only the beginning. They are coming." Silence followed. Then the transmission cut out. Humanity's next move. Captain Drayden folded his arms. "Sir, what do we do?" Admiral Hayes exhaled slowly. Then he turned to his officers with a grim but determined expression. "We prepare. Because if the galaxy thought humanity would back down, they were about to be very, very wrong." Humanity's reckoning. The battle for Vega 7 was over, but the echoes of war had only just begun. Across the Terran fleet, crews cheered, wounded soldiers were tended to, and the survivors of Vega 7 wept with relief. Humanity had won. But on the bridge of the Invictus, Admiral Hayes wasn't celebrating. He stood in silence, staring at the void where the Dominion once stood. The encrypted warning still echoed in his mind. They are coming. A meeting of leaders. Back on Earth, the Terran High Command gathered in a massive war chamber. Asterisk holographic displays showed the battle's aftermath. Asterisk the ruined Dominion fleet, the destruction of Vega 7, and the growing unrest across the galaxy. Generals, admirals, and political leaders debated furiously. "We should strike now," one general demanded. "The Dominion is weakened. We can finish them before they recover." "No," a diplomat argued. "If we escalate, we risk war with the entire galaxy." Admiral Hayes finally spoke. His voice was calm, but firm. "We don't have a choice." The room fell silent. "The Dominion will never forgive us for what happened at Vega 7. And whoever sent that warning, they know something we don't. We can't afford to sit and wait for another attack." A deep voice spoke from the shadows. "Then it's time to do what we do best." From the darkness stepped Supreme Commander Marcus Steele, a living legend of the Terran military. "We don't wait for war to come to us." His steel-gray eyes swept across the room. "We take the fight to them." The dawn of the war machine. Within days, the full force of Terran industry roared to life. Shipyards across the solar system churned out warships at an unprecedented rate. New weapons were developed, stronger, faster, deadlier. Spy networks spread across the galaxy, gathering intelligence on every threat. The Dominion had come for humanity, believing them weak. Now, humanity was becoming something else. A force the galaxy would never forget. A war beyond the stars. From the ruins of Vega 7, Terran forces began their counteroffensive. Strike teams hunted down surviving Dominion warlords. Black Ops units infiltrated enemy strongholds. And deep in the unknown regions of space, the first exploratory fleets were sent to uncover the truth behind the warning. What they found shook them to their core. The true enemy awakens, a hidden system on the edge of the galaxy. Terran scouts arrived, expecting a Dominion outpost. Instead, they found something far worse. Massive structures, older than any known civilization, ruins of a forgotten war. And deep within, something stirring. A single message was recovered from an ancient console. "The Reapers are waking." The meaning was unknown, but the warning was clear. Humanity's greatest war was still ahead, and they would face it together. The final message. Back on Earth, Supreme Commander Steele stood before the gathered leaders, soldiers, and citizens of the Terran Republic. His voice rang across every human world, every colony, every outpost in the dark. The galaxy thought we were weak. The Dominion thought they could break us. But today, we make one thing clear to every enemy lurking in the void. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not surrender. We stand, we fight, and we will win. The crowd erupted in deafening applause. Across the stars, war was coming. But for the first time, the galaxy understood the truth. Humanity was ready.